Okay, well, I guess we begin. Um, let's start. Let's start with just a moment of drumming, uh, just to at least help me to get fully here and out of the day. Nothing to do but to listen to the drum. All right, let's begin with our cleansing and dedicating and harmonizing of the space. So we'll do that with sound as we do. And we invite our guests to turn to the west. Hail to the spirits that ride the west wind, you who help us to remember what we've learned and who give us the visions of what can be, the visions of what could come. Come, join with us, be with us in our endeavors this evening. Come. And I turn to the north. Hail to the spirits that ride the north wind, you who come out of the dark and bring us courage to face the unknown. Come, join with us. Help us in our endeavors this evening. Come. Come. And I turn to the east. Hail to the spirits that ride the east wind, you who come with the dawning of the day and the opening eye of the morning sun. Come, reveal to us what has been hidden. Come. Come. And I turn to the south. Hail to the spirits that ride the south wind, you who come with the words that we can tell our story and the music that we can sing our song. our song and the great song. Come and join with us and help us tell our stories of the evening. Come. And to the spirits of this place in the center of all things, we are here. Join with us. Let us join with you. And be generous with your hospitality, that we may settle in here and be as present as we can be. We are here. Father Sky, Mother Earth, ancestors, nature spirits, people of the Fae, all of us warmed by the great spirit fire, may you find this sweet. Hooray, hooray, hooray. We are here in this place now, clay and water from the earth, sun and wind from the heavens, a divine home for soul, abiding at the center of our being, in the center of the worlds, on the threshold to the horizonless other world. We are here in this place now, and it is good. Okay. So again, welcome. And okay. Let me start with some thoughts about the from the. I don't know if this is actually in the text or not, but why do we do this? We're talking about, what I mean is middle world journeys. The middle world, I think this is in the text. It refers to this world that manifests itself as a physical realm of time and space. You know, it's like the Hobbit's middle world. Many people only believe in this world as we see it. That is, and that is this world that's only subject to sensory observation and measurement by physical tools, and explained by mathematical regularity, and which also depends on predictability. However, the spiritual dimension, maybe you could call it the psychic dimension, is usually invisible, but not always, and much to the consternation of materialistic scientists, it's not so predictable or reliable. There have been so many efforts to test out psychic things in the lab, and that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And so, my thought is that that spiritual realm is something that, at least so far, has really only has one instrument that can perceive or in some way measurement, and that's the human intuition. Well, we know animals have it too. If you've been around animals, they're always looking at things that we don't see and responding to things. And so it's something in this. It's a subjective perception, and science doesn't do well with conventional science with the subjective dimension of things. It tends to get dismissed, and so it makes it difficult then to examine in any kind of standardized laboratory conditions and be measured mathematically, because the scientific research, which has served us well in so many ways, relies on statistical calculations, validity, reliability, and coefficients, and all that stuff that I used to know more about. In dealing with research. But we're talking about something that's not concrete, and not predictable. Any thoughts about that? Or by anything that was in the text? I think the one way to look at this thing of going into the middle world journey, there Tom makes the distinction. It's not like an out of body experience where you just travel out and kind of observe the things as we normally see them. This is something else. This is that spiritual dimension of things. And if we go back to one of the really basic tenets of this whole shamanic world, that everything's alive, everything is willing to communicate, everything has soul. And so the stone has a soul, the waterfall has a soul, the ocean, the land, each animal has its own soul. But it can go further than that to events, weather. Yeah, Heidi, go ahead. You're muted.
When I think about the middle world journeys, I find that that's the one that deepens my connection with the daily world the most,
Hmm.
just because I look at things differently. Even where I live or wherever I go, I look at things a little bit differently. That's the one thing that I noticed about, like, the upper world is up there, the lower world is down there, and the one that's here, I don't know, it's I just found it to be more connecting
Hmm.
than the other journeys.
Yeah, well said. Thanks. Yeah, and it does. It gives us a different relationship. If we go, for example, soul to soul with something or someone or some event, it's a different sort of relationship. And we may find that what we see with the physical eye is a poor reflection of what's in that spirit realm. It's just like us. You we talk about the grandness of the soul and its eternity and its wisdom and all that, but then look at us. We're just these poor human um, creatures, trying to do the best we can, living here and trying to make things work and forgetting about the spirit connections and caught up in the necessities of life. It's easy to forget. I mean, just imagine if you could. I think we've done this in some other classes, like around the time of the new moon. If you could take a day and just walk through life like a spirit as best you can, you and seeing from that perspective everything in a day. Now it's you know I don't know that it's really possible to do it completely, but to just be reminding yourself in a day, when it's safe to do this, it's probably not a good idea to do it driving, but at other times and looking at the sort of the spirit of things, and that, well, anyway. So, what we want to do on this middle world journey is what I'm going to suggest first is I mentioned in the email today about the most beautiful place you've seen. Um, like, where would that be? Go ahead. I'll start. I mean, I have a couple of places actually. One is on the coast of California, this area that was sort of jut out into the ocean, and there were the there were the whales, their spouts and storks flying around. And there's this huge waterfall, just like coming off and down onto a beach that you can't get down to. I guess maybe you can from the water, and it was just gorgeous. And there were trees there, so it certainly was betwixt and between. It was one of those places there. So I mean, so that's one that is a good place. But what other places would you say have you seen? Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Mine is on the shores of Denmark, on the coast of Denmark, and the sand dunes and the grass. And I actually videotaped the grass was singing. The wind was blowing the grass, and the waves were just crashing. And it was like a dream. I felt like I was in heaven. But the grass was actually like, ah, it was so amazing, and there was no one else there but me for 5 minutes only, but it was, yeah, that would be mine.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Somebody else? Some beautiful place in the world? Or in your backyard? Yeah, Kathy?
Um, Mine is up in the Boundary Waters where I'm sitting all alone on a canoe or in a canoe. And it is so quiet and the trees are so beautiful. It's July, so they're all green, a really beautiful green. And yet I'm by Warrior Hill. And so there's the the hills on Canada's side is so high and the sun is just reflecting on the earth
Mm,
and sparkling. And it was so peaceful.
sounds beautiful. Yeah, thanks. Some other beautiful place. One more? Just one more? I love hearing about these. Go ahead, Kurt.
There we go. There's a place in Thailand called Erewhon Falls, and it's where the water rushes out of the side of a mountain, literally a hole in the side of the mountain, and it's saturated with minerals. As it flows down, it keeps forming these little dams. So you'd have this little dam, and then just downstream, 10, 15 feet below it could be another dam, and there's trees hanging over. It's like a scene out of a Tarzan movie. And the water is this beautiful turquoise color. And yeah, it's just a cool
Uh,
place.
nice, thanks. Yeah, Danielle, were you going to say something? Oh, I see Jill has
I,
her hand up too.
I was going to say that I hear everybody talking about water, and yet for me, I think of going to the fields behind my grandfather's house where it was just huge open spaces of wheat, and you
Ah,
could see the sun on it moving, and there is no water. It was just something about that is beautiful and comforting.
yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it doesn't have to be by water at all. Um, and Jill, did you have one? Or was that your hand was up? No? Okay.
Well, I'll share one, sure.
Okay.
Um, I think of quite a few, but one of my favorites from when I was a teenager was traveling out to my grandparents' house in Idaho, and I don't remember which mountain pass it was. But one of the mountain passes out there was the first time I'd really been as aware as I was of just my surroundings. It was so breathtaking to me, and I remember it so clearly still today, all these years later, and nothing has compared to that, even though all these other places are still equally beautiful. Just none compares. So that's one of my favorite spots
Yeah.
still.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. One of my other ones is in Maryland. It's South Mountain, and there's no water there either. It's up on a it's top of a mountain, and I used to go there so often that my daughter Erin called it Daddy's Mountain. You know, that was her reference for it, and so here's what I'm going to ask you to do on this journey is go to that beautiful place, and to see the spiritual dimension of it. Okay? And it may Tom gave the example in his book, of I think it was visiting his father, and it wasn't exactly what his father was actually doing, but it gave the message of his father's health. And so it may or may not look exactly like our physical memory. And it doesn't have to be something that still exists, even. Things have, a lot of things change over the years. So the thing is to, like I say, go with your helpers, gather with your helpers. I'm not going to talk you through this one because these are going to be so individual. So gather with your helpers first, as usual, and then with them travel, fly to that space, that place, and with the clear intent to see the spiritual dimension of it, the soul of it. And now you might see a spirit of different spirits in different like spirit, like a tree and maybe a river, and individual spirits. But you may also find a spirit of that place, the spirit of the landscape itself. It's like a forest has the spirit of each tree, but there's the spirit of the forest as well. And so just be ready. And what I'm going to ask you to do, go there and see as much as you can see and feel, and absorb the beauty of the place. I'm thinking of beauty as an energy that you can feel. I mean, we see it, it's a beautiful thing, but something in us responds to it. And that something I'm postulating is an energetic something. It's like your my spirit responding, your spirit, and let its beauty absorb into you. And then, of course, there'll be the callback. Okay? Is that so? Maybe we'll go. Maybe 12 minutes. Should be time to explore and kind of look around and absorb. And there might be a spirit there with a message for you. If you run into somebody there, have a conversation if you like. And I would suggest doing it this way. When you arrive, say who you are and why you're there. You know, I'm Carl. I'm here to acknowledge the spiritual dimension here. I mean, use your own name, of course. Um, Carl's already taken. Introduce yourself, and although they probably know you there, because you have a connection with it. So, and see what you come up with, or see what they come up with in you. Okay. So how was that as a journey? Anybody? Yeah, Kurt.
It was just fun. It was really pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say it was called Erewhon?
Erewhon. Yeah.
Erewhon. It's like
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings character.
It would look like
Almost.
something you see in the movie.
Does it?
Yeah, check it out on, if you're interested. They got web pages on it. It's
Okay.
gorgeous.
All right, thanks. Cool. Somebody else?
Sure, I'll go. I
Okay. Yeah, Daniel.
I found it kind of interesting because I was really just kind of wandering around,
Huh?
and I'm not sure where I'd wandered off to, but I kind of like felt like I'd been pushed by something to get back towards the center for whatever reason. And then I spent the rest of the time pretty much laying down and looking at the clouds and seeing different things in the clouds.
Ah.
It was wonderful, but just different.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. Well, I was. I'll tell you mine. At first, I was distracted by the beauty of the place. My memory of the physical place was actually in the way of me sort of like doing the task at hand. But I started remembering that's like, oh yeah, there were seals over there, in that part, and you could hear them in their calls, or I don't know what you'd call it, uh, whatever. And then the other animals in the trees and that waterfall. So I was starting to get lost just in my memories, and it's like, oh wait a minute, this isn't what I was intending. And so I had to make that shift to the spirit of the place, and then it kind of changed, and then it was less these individual things and spirits. It was sort of like this dome or like a great mushroom over it, and everything became sort of like a chorus. It's a harmony. It's like each was aware. You know, on the one hand, it's like that whale that was with a blow spout going, wouldn't be aware of me or much else, but in that spirit realm, it was. And then in that spirit realm, for example, with the waterfall, it's like I felt it flowing into me, and something of me was flowing to the waterfall. And it's like, so that triggered some thoughts about, when we see something beautiful, something of that beauty enters into us, and we leave something there too. I mean, I could say we leave our heart there, or a piece of our heart there in the thing. So there's this exchange that happens. And then, I guess I was copying Danya, I lay down, and in lying down like that, though I didn't stay, I sort of spread out to the edge. It was the edge of the land, between the sky and the earth, and the water and the earth there, and just sort of lay there like that, and didn't know what to do. but I just sort of like lay there and just absorbed being in that in between place. So it was quite nice. Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
Well, I also had a laying down experience. I went to a lake that I've been to several times. I love it because there's no buildings around there, so it feels real wild. And I also have felt the presence of the place, both when I'm there and once when I wasn't there. And so this time when I went, I felt known. And I just looked at the beauty for a while and looked at the light reflecting off. It was a sunny day, a light reflecting off the water. And then I was laying in the air above the lake, just suspended. And I felt like I was in kind of like in a hammock, but I was just safe and held. And I was just there for a while, and I don't know whether I dissipated or came back or what. I don't know. That was the end of it. I was just there in the air.
Nice.
Felt great.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I went into the journey. You ask a question I hate, and what is the most beautiful place you've ever been to? Because I could not decide. So I thought I'd go to my helpers to see where we should go. And from my South African wildebeest to the vole that lives in my yard to the foxes to all the birds, my snow leopard, they were all on the dock. We have this tiny little dock, and they were all gathered. And I asked them, I said, where shall we go? And they kind of couldn't decide, and they said, well, let's just go see. So we just, like a flock of birds, we all took off, and we started down our lake, and we went to South Africa, and we went to Tunisia, and we went to Borneo, and we went to Thailand, and I went to the Boundary Waters. And it was like at each place we paused, but it wasn't where we wanted to be. And eventually we just came right back to the dock, and they came back onto the land in front of the lakeside of the house. And there's like 12 of these helpers that they're just comical characters. It reminds me of something out of Midsummer Night's Dream and all of the, wildness in the forest. But they each picked a spot on our property, and they just plopped down. And they said, this is where we want to be. And so I introduced myself again. I said, you know who I am. I live here. I'm searching for the spirit of this place, because we've lived here now, I don't know, 14 years, 13 and a half years. And as beautiful as it is, and as much as I just deeply love it, I just don't have the connection to the land that I've always wanted to have. And this is what they were telling me, is that it is the land, and it is your community here that makes this your home. And they said, because I've tried to plant things, and we have a lot of shade, and so it's always kind of a difficult maneuver to find enough light. And so I have planted and replanted, but I have my grandmother's peonies from Iowa in the yard, and I have camellia that was given to me by a colleague when my mother died. And so all of these special little areas just kind of came to me saying, no, you are part of the spirit of our land. It's like I've been trying to connect with the spirit of the land that I live on. And then they wanted to build a fire. They said, we need to invite the spirit of the fire. And our last journey, my fire experience was not a good one. And they said, no, the fire will bring us together. The fire will warm us. The fire is the center of the community. And so we built a big bonfire. And then it was my job to invite people to the fire. And that's what I realize I miss, is that I don't invite people to partake in the spirit of our land enough. I don't share it. And that's what they were asking me to do. And just as we were kind of doing that, and I was thinking, who shall I invite? You started bringing us out with the boom, 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 and it was like a knock on the door. It was people saying, Naomi, let me in, right? So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool and pretty instructive, I would say. But I love it when all my spirit animals decide they're going to journey together with me in a gaggle. And it's always a fun experience. But yeah, no, it was fun.
Yeah, thanks. Apparently, they see you as being connected there.
Apparently, and I guess I need to embrace that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. One more? Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
I had a very interesting experience because I did go to the shore, and I expected it to be about the ocean, but it was about the wind. And I saw myself, and the wind was picking up my hair and spinning it around, and I could feel the sand and things blowing on my face. And I got picked up a few times as I was walking. So it was just really neat that I expected maybe to connect a little bit with the ocean and the waves, but it was even when I was looking at the waves, it was the wind coming down out of the sky and making them move. And then as I was walking down the path, it was like I could see every blade of grass moving in the wind. Like I could see my eyes and myself. It was like I could see every color, every individual blade, and they were all moving with the wind. And it was just very interesting how I could see the relationship with the wind, the waves, but it was about the sky. And so it was just kind of so like I'd be walking, but yet I would jump up a little bit and be up a little bit and then go back down. And the wind was saying, see, you have to pay attention to me too. There was just that, like it was about the sky. So I thought it would be about the earth, but and then the way the grass was still singing like I had described, but to see them like individual little beings it was just so beautiful. So now I want to go back for real. So thank you. That was just really amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. All right. Well, why don't we let's take a 5-minute break before we dive into something else, and come back about a minute or two after the hour. Okay. See you. All right then. While we're waiting for everybody else to arrive, I wanted to say, when I did my journey, I thought I was finished, and was headed over to South Mountain to take a look at South Mountain. But they said, no, we're not done with you yet. And that's when I then lay down on the surface of things and was between those realms. Well, I also mentioned in the we want to make this more personal, I guess, more obviously personal. is there some event, some experience that you've had that you'd like some greater understanding of? Something, I mean, it could be anything. From a national catastrophe or a national event, to a memory of some memory of yours that just sticks in your head for some reason. And it's not, that our purpose isn't to go back sort of like to do therapy with it. That's not what we're about, but rather to look at the spirit, again, the spiritual dimension. It may not change anything, but to gather a larger understanding of it. So it could be an event, an experience, a memory, perhaps someone you knew as a child, or a place that as a child you liked to go to. A lot of us children, like we had our, I don't know, our secret place that somehow was a power spot for us, or a security space, whatever it is. So it's pretty. So if this sounds kind of vague, it is, because as I said, it could be an experience, a memory, a place from childhood, just something you'd like a little more. Well, you want to see the spiritual dimension of it. Is that at all clear? Because it's not very specific. Because I'm asking you to sort of pick out of your own history, which could cover a lot of territory. Okay. So I'll give you a moment to, and you may, like Naomi's experience with the places, you may need the advice of your helpers to choose the event. Carl Jung often talked about the influence of our thoughts. What was it? Thoughts, events, and people. That we're like our psyches are populated with the thoughts, events, and people. And so sort of anywhere in there is going to be fodder for this journey, to seek the spiritual dimension of it. Mm-hmm. So it could be some of a thought of your own, something that has a belief, or a judgment. So it could be something out of your own psyche. So what do you have a question about of your life or history at this point? Can you use that as the sort of the target for this journey, and see what we come up with. And we'll go about 12 minutes, I'd say. Okay. Anything to be shared? I mean, I'll start. Mine was all over the place. Mine was like the description I was making of it. Thinking I was headed one place and then showing up at another one, and then from there going to these childhood places, and a lot of turned out to be the sort of spiritual dimension of this was just mothering, my being mothered, sort of embraced by trees or little groupings of trees, and then and it was like, okay, that seems clear, and then suddenly I had a childhood friend who we grew up together, lived 2 doors away. People thought we were brothers. We even looked alike. That he suddenly died in his early 20s, I think it was. And suddenly I was there with him, sort of having this conversation kind of with him, sort of. So mine was all over the place. Anybody else have something more coherent?
Sure, I'll share mine.
Yeah, Joe.
You talked about the intention of this wasn't necessarily to work out anything from the past or anything like that. And when I asked my animal allies where we might go, they said, well, we're going to central Minnesota. Okay. And we went to the place, quite a few lines of my relatives, all my grandparents, when they came over in the late 1800s, went to the same area within miles of each other. And I went and visited there a few summers ago, some of their cemeteries, and just kind of went to some places around there. And I have many relatives still in the area. And when I asked why we were there, they just said, well, you've been wondering about your relatives lately and you wanted to understand. And they said they came here to get away from the life they had, yet they still found it difficult. They ended up living in so many of the same ways that they had lived before. And there was just a lot of conversation or kind of specific things that they mentioned, and it just did really help me to understand perhaps some of the patterns that have been going on, and that no, I don't need to be part of that, but I can have some understanding of where they've been and where they're coming from and how difficult things have been.
Mm.
And that was not at all what I expected, but it
Oh,
helped and enjoyed.
thanks. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for. Joe, whenever we do anything with ancestors, or even if we're not exactly doing stuff with them, we need to be aware of the fact they pass down stuff to us. Spiritual stuff, or the spiritual dimension of stuff, as well as the epigenetic and psychosocial unanswered questions or unfinished business that is left in our laps, and that's there, and that can call us to the wants attention for one thing or another. Thanks. Yeah, other visits or. Yeah, Kathy.
I had a hard time also. I was all over the place, and I finally said, okay, we got to do something. And all of a sudden I was brought to the idea of timelines, because I've been hearing about people and thinking about the timelining. They've been talking about collapsing and jumping timelines. And the image that my my elk gave me, or my jaguar that was there gave me, is like stargates. And the collapsing ones were, there was three of them, and supposedly on last Saturday, three timelines collapsed. And so there was three stargates, and all of a sudden they closed and they disappeared. And my jaguar said, "You can never go back." And so my jaguar, the power animal that I'm just getting to know, asked me, "Look at all the places you won't go back to." And so, and then you called us back. So I didn't get very far after.
Okay. Right, something to explore. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, Heidi?
It was very interesting that it all seems similar, that we were all kind of swimming. I felt like I was actually moving in a way like I was swimming through parts of my life, and they all seem to have shared a theme. And then it occurred to me that the work that we're doing this learning, I just got this gentle clarity about how we are all going to be ancestors one day. And the fact that you just brought up things being dropped in our lap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing patterns with the things that my journeys are about. And so it was just kind of interesting. I got this gentle clarity like, oh, you're going to be an ancestor someday. So this work is, it didn't tell me to do anything or to what to do, but just that, oh, this work you're doing is important for ancestors to come, kind of,
Hmm.
in a way. So just the fact that you brought up things being brought in our lap from our ancestors, it just seemed like everything I saw during this journey had this similar theme.
Hmm.
So it was very interesting, and I feel like we should revisit this one sometime, maybe. I
Okay.
feel like I want this wasn't done.
Yeah, well, we
But
can do that.
it was fun swimming through my life. So yeah, more please.
All right, thanks, Heidi. Yeah, by the way, there's a book. Um, I think it's called From Elder to Ancestors, Elder to Ancestor, something like that. And she talks about um, the importance of becoming a good ancestor. You know, now. You know, well, we can still do it. Well, we still can make choices and things. So I'll send out the in case anybody's interested in the book, the proper title and the author. There. Anybody else? Did anybody have clarity? Hi, Ann. Go ahead.
I had the beginning of some clarity. I went all over everywhere and the past and around like everybody else did. And finally, I was sitting here. My painting stuff is right beside me. And I thought, well, why don't I ask about that or think about that? And I've talked about that I think we're channeling these animals that we paint, and that the people who do a good job of it are channeling. And it occurred to me that we're really creating a presence when we're painting these animals. I mean, you talk about everything has everything is a being, and it's willing to communicate. And so it just kind of really impressed me that really what we're doing is we're creating something, and it's a presence, and it may want to communicate. And perhaps that's why they look so alive, rather than that I'm channeling some mysterious being, or looking at a photograph and bringing in that presence. So I'm on a journey about that, but that feels more real to me than channeling.
Ah, good idea. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, and the painters that paint these gorgeous landscapes that people are so thrilled with. Yeah, I mean, I think they're creating a presence.
Yeah, interesting idea.
An energetic presence.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, so that image, that painting, whatever, then has its own life,
yes,
its own soul.
yeah. I mean, if the table does, certainly the painting does. Yeah.
That makes me think of the earlier journey that I was on. This mountain pass that I visited. I was talking, just thanking the space, and I was just recounting how the first time I went through there, I felt so drawn to that space. I asked to stop and get out and take pictures, and I just wanted to be in that space for a while. And what I heard back was, we reached out to you and you responded. We reach out to some and they don't respond. But when people are tender toward us, we will be tender toward them.
Beautiful.
And I had never thought of that before. Like, every time you think of us, we are communicating with each other. And I'd never considered that before. And you talked a little bit about that when you were talking about how we interact. And so, yeah, a painting. Anyway, just fascinating. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks, Jill. When we say we're walking along somewhere and there's stones, and it's like there's one stone that's the one we want to pick up and take with us. Well, we tend to think that, well, I am picking up that stone, but that stone is calling us. That's why that stone ended up in your pocket and not all of the others that are there. It'll stand out because it calls to us. Or I like what Jill said, if you're tender toward us, we're tender to you. That's so lovely. Yeah. Heidi?
Oh, I was just going to say some of my photos that I take, folks don't realize they're in like parking lots, or like a leaf will be waving at me and I'll be taking pictures in parking lots, because the a tree will talk to me as I'm shopping or going about my day. And so sometimes folks don't realize some of my tree photos are actually in the middle of the city. So they call to you. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the experience we've had of like sort of being all over the place with this second journey, I think is a good example of, if the instructions are vague, the journey is vague. And of course, I was trying to leave it as open as possible, and you can see you get a wide, like a shotgun spread of stuff that I found fascinating. You know, it's just it's a different experience of journeying. Anybody else? One more of the journeys. Don't have to. Okay. Well, just a few things here I want to say about these worlds. Different cultures have different ideas about the three worlds: the upper world, middle world, and lower world. I've mentioned this before. I think in the general Celtic world, it was just the other world. There wasn't so much of a distinction like has become tradition, modern tradition, upper, middle, and lower. But for the ones that do have that, I mean, it is fairly common among different cultures having an upper world, middle world, and lower world. But they have different beliefs about them. Michael Harner's training, it was the Heveros, whatever tribe it was, they believed that the middle world journey was the most dangerous because of the spirits that could attach to you or whatever. Soren Gerel of Mongolian tradition believed the Mongolian believed that it was the lower world that was more fraught with perils, and their idea was because souls or spirits in the lower world it's where our karmic souls go in their cosmology, and some of those karmic souls, go to where they're supposed to go in the lower world, but they want to come back, and so they'll try to hitchhike on the backs of a shaman that goes down to visit the lower world and ends up bringing them back to this world, through the traveling shaman. And so, I didn't mention any of this ahead of time because I didn't want to prejudice anything, and you can see that we don't seem to have that trouble. But of course, we always take go with our helpers, who lead the way and provide protection and assistance. So even as it's kind of universal as shamanism is, there are still these cultural variations to it, based on who knows what. Maybe somebody had indigestion when they made their journey, and then it became a story. Okay, but anyway, with this journey to the spiritual dimension of the middle world, how far could we take this? It could be into if you've had a troublesome relationship, could you visit the spirit of the other person, or the spirit of the relationship itself? But if you go to the spirit of another person, there's an ethical question about whether you're violating. It's like you're peeking in the back door, of them. Although Tom does mention sort of doing that, but not about creating change necessarily, which leads me to this other idea I guess this occurs in relationships in the psychological world, but also in the astrological world. A relationship is considered to have its own chart. In other words, the relationship itself is a being that's comprised of the two people. And you could visit, you could visit certainly the spirit of the relationship there.
I have a question, Carl. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sure.
When you say ethical questions, is it like a matter of invading someone else's privacy when you're looking at their spirit then?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so maybe then you're saying then to look at the spirit of the relationship maybe instead of
Mhm.
the other? Okay,
Yeah,
I just wanted a
yeah,
little clarity on that
yeah.
one part. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be a safer way to go, ethically speaking. I don't mean safe in terms of danger. Um, Unless there's some way to get consent. Um, in the spirit dimension. Now, how I don't, you know, um, it's just important to respect boundaries. You know. Um, or you could add, you could ask that spirit, how far can I go? You can certainly talk to that spirit, but um, it's just iffy, I think.
Or ask the person, maybe, if you
Yeah,
can do
ask the
that
person.
work with
Sure.
them.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, if the person, yeah.
Okay.
It's all. You often hear it said even that if you want to send somebody healing energy, you want to have their consent for that. But of course, sometimes they're unconscious, so they're they're too ill to ask, and so you have to use your discretion. So, Naomi, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say in my last journey, I went very quickly to the concept of people that I have intimate relationships with.
Hmm.
And without going through the whole journey, what I came around to is another person's soul is something that we behold, but nothing that we keep.
Huh.
And it kind of goes to that we can behold the soul of someone else, but to hold it or to try to clutch it, um, or keep it is not for us to do. And I find myself kind of yearning to hold on to, um, that concept of intimacy and that sort of thing, as opposed to just freely opening my hand and letting that soul, just beholding that soul as a whole, as opposed to holding that soul. So yeah.
Nicely put. Yeah, and that may be the key. I think that may answer our question, Naomi. If, behold, the soul can hide from you, so it's not like you have ultimate power, and to behold it, and then it may or may not invite you to come closer. Like even when people talk about um, wanting to develop a relationship with a tree, don't just walk up and hug it. You know, come up to like the drip line first and see if it feels like it's inviting you in, and then go in to it. So I mean, do the same thing with another person as well as their soul. Yeah. Thanks, Naomi. That really, I think, gave us the language to kind of develop the concept of how to approach this in a respectful way. Yeah. Um, Now, on page 90, yeah, Kathy, you're going to say something?
I was going to ask, what about this whole concept of that we are all one? How does that fit into this needing boundary or needing permission? When we're all one, you're just be talking to yourself, wouldn't you?
Yes and no, because we are all one, but we are all individuals. We're both.
Mhm.
And in terms of the oneness, we can relate to the oneness. If we say we want to relate to a person's soul, that's something different. That's not the oneness that we're relating to. Because the oneness
Oh,
is going to be everything. You know. And so if you're narrowing your focus down to, oh, let me look at this aspect of this oneness, you're developing an individual relationship with that. That is also of the oneness. I mean, it's a both and. Or as the Irish would say, it is and it isn't. You know, that's a good question.
yeah.
On the page 90, Tom gives a number of ideas like to explore, you know, like just to bask in the sunlight in your backyard or the city park in non-ordinary reality. You don't have to go do work. Just go lounge, you know, in the sunlight or the moonlight on a lake, or the spirits that are in a lake or a pond. So, you know, check that out. As I say, it's on page 90. Ways to use this in a you know, pleasant and fun way. Right then, that's my lot for the evening. Yeah, Brenda, did you want to? You're muted.
Just have a comment about the first journey that we did to the beautiful place. And you mentioned that beauty really is an energy. And without going into the details of my particular journey, but listening to the rest of you and my own personal journey, there was so much joy, beauty, love expressed. And it occurred to me, and I know this too, that for healing, for physical healing, for us to be in a place where we feel that beauty, even if it's an imaginary place, it has to course, that those serotonin and all the good chemicals have to be coursing through our bodies. And I think it's important that we remember that when an illness or disability or whatever, that guided imagery or whatever, how important it is, because it sure made me feel pretty damn good.
Well, good. That's a good reminder. Thanks. Yeah, the heart math people at the Institute of Heart Math talk a lot about the self-induced positive feeling for that purpose, as you described, to produce those the hormones of well-being in the body. That it happens because we already have the receptors there in the body, and because we produce the agents that encourage the healing and the good feeling, and that we have the ability to alter that. Yeah, thanks. Okay, well let's do the official closing, and then we can hang out. Okay. To the spirits that have come from the West, we thank you for the learning that you have provided, and the visions here, and the learning that is to come. But the time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. We thank you. Thank you. And you spirits that have come out of the north and come out of the dark to be with us, we thank you for the courage that you brought, and the invitation to go into the dark and to dream on these things. But the time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. and you spirits that have come from the east. We thank you for what you have revealed of what has been in the dark for us. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to you spirits that have come from the south, you who have brought us the words and the music to tell our stories and to sing our songs here, thank you for helping us. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to the spirits of this place, thank you for your hospitality, the generosity of your support. We're finished for the evening, and we just say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is done.